Good morning, everybody. This is Tom Bracey with Remax Elite Homes. Today is May 10th, 2017. We're going to do a short presentation today, and the topic is going to be sorry, but I don't want to list your home. Okay? So, I know that sounds kind of strange. Why wouldn't you want to list someone's home? Actually, we do want to list homes, and we're doing a really good job of doing that and making more sales. Real quickly, I'll just kind of give you some of the statistics where we are today. It looks like we're heading toward the $150 million mark for the company this year, which is outstanding. Last year we did about 116 million. So if we keep going at the pace we're going, that is going to be outstanding. So congratulations to everyone for that. Sorry, I don't want to list your home. I thought might be kind of a good thing to talk about, because as we get more listings and we do a good job of getting listings, we want to be able to make sure that we have saleable listings. We want to make sure we have a lot of information about the property. We want to make sure we know the legal aspects of, can we transfer the ownership of this property? Do we have a seller that's going to cooperate with us in getting all the information that we need prior to listing a home? And are they truly motivated in getting their property sold? So I've kind of listed some red flags that I think might be helpful for you. And I also have, we have on the intranet some forms that you can use in your presentations and in your methods of getting your listings. Okay, so I'll just kind of quickly mention these to you real quickly before we get started. We have the pre-list interview and property questionnaire that's on the intranet. It's about 4 or 5 pages long. It's got a lot of detailed questions that you would want to get from the seller, not only about themselves and the ownership of the property, where the abstract is, all the way to questions about the age of the roof or the septic or the condition of the property. Okay, so that's really helpful for you, and I recommend that you do that in your listing presentation and your steps in getting the listing. Okay, again, I'm real big in doing a 2-step approach. First step is getting information about the property. Second step is actually meeting with people to sign the papers and knowing that you're going to move ahead and knowing what you're selling. Okay. Another one that's on the intranet is the pre-inspection, the 10 reasons sellers should get their home pre-inspected. Again, really a big time saver, something you could include in your listing presentation on the importance of pre-inspections. Okay. The third one is defending your commission. This is on the internet. Feel free to use that. A really good script on if sellers are objecting to a commission and handling that, and some things you can say to them. Okay. And then the fourth one is what is the market value of your property? In other words, this is something that is really important for you to discuss with sellers in terms of what contributes to property value and what things do not affect property value. And sometimes people don't understand the difference there. So we want to make sure that we use that. If you want to, feel free to use any of these. Okay? All right. Probably the first thing that would be sort of a red flag to me, and why I might not list someone's house, is as I give them the pre-list interview and property questionnaire, is the lack of information. So if they're not really willing to take time to fill it out, to get as many answers to these questions as they possibly can, that's a little bit of a concern to me. Okay, why aren't they doing that? I need to know what their mortgage balance is. Are there second mortgages? Is this an estate? Are there other people that are going to be involved in this property sale that need to sign papers? So this type of a questionnaire is really important for you to fill out. And again, if they seem like it's not a big deal or they don't want to take the time to do it, that's a little bit of a concern to me. Okay. being upfront with you is really important, so your sellers really need to be upfront with you on everything that's going on. One thing that I do to find out how motivated people are when they want to list their property is I will offer to email this to them before I even go out to see their house. And if they say, yeah, here's my email, send it out, a lot of times you can really tell how sincere people are because they fill it out. When you get there, it's already filled out, or they might have even fill it out and email it back to you before you even go out to see the property. So that is definitely gives you some good clues as to what might happen down the road with these people. The second thing is, are they willing to make repairs or get inspections? Are they willing to do the things that they need to do to get their property ready to sell? And again, you can talk about pre-inspections, the importance of pre-inspections, whether it be septic, sewer, whole house, or whatever. If they're truly motivated, they will listen to you, and they're typically more than happy to pay for that and get that going prior to listing their home. And again, if they're kind of waving on that, or they don't really want to do that, or let the buyer do that, again, that's a little bit of a red flag to me. Okay. Another thing that's a little bit of a concern sometimes is if you want to list a home is you do your CMA, you went out, you've seen the property, you pulled your comps, you've done a really thorough job in analyzing the market. You might have even had some other agents from your company go out and look at the property to get an opinion from them, which I've done before. Seems to work pretty well to get more agents in your office to if you're not quite sure on the value, to get a second or third opinion. Is the red flag would be they're not believing you. Okay, for some reason, some sellers are just they think their property is worth more than what you do. Okay, and even after you've done exhaustive research and you've had all these opinions, they're still not wanting to believe you. That's obviously a little bit of a red flag there. Do you really want to list or continue to pursue this person when they don't seem to want to believe what you're telling them? Okay. Sometimes when people buy properties, nothing necessarily against for sale by owners, but I have seen a lot of times when people go to sell their house, they call you to do a CMA. If they bought their property through a FSBO, oftentimes they pay too much for the property, or the other concern would be maybe they didn't get all the inspections they should have got, and so there might be some defects in this property that are now going to make it a little more difficult to sell the second time around. So that to me might be a little bit of a problem, knowing that they maybe possibly paid too much for the property. Okay. The next thing is commission. When a red flag to me is if a seller is, the first thing out of their mouth is, well, how much do you charge for commission? So they call you out of the blue, maybe you were recommended by somebody they know, or they saw your credentials on the internet or whatever, and they just say, hey, this person looks like someone I would maybe want to have list my house, so I'm going to interview some realtors. And they contact you, and the first question out of their mouth is, well, how much is your commission? Okay, you got to be kind of careful on that, and that's a little bit of a red flag to me because there are so many other things that are going to be involved in selling their property that when the first thing they're concerned about is the commission, is this the type of person that's really going to be very easy to work with? Okay. If you want to talk to them more about your commission, which I certainly recommend you do that at some point, I definitely wouldn't talk about it at first. I would try to say, look, I need to see your property, I need to come out, maybe take some pictures, meet with you, have you fill out the property questionnaire, get all that information, and then when we meet the second time to go over the listing paperwork, if you want to talk about it at that time, or when I go over all my listing materials, presentation materials with you, if you want to talk about it at that time, that's fine. But for right now, I need to kind of get in gear and get the ball rolling before we worry too much about commission. When you do get into those discussions about commission, again, use the intranet, look up the 10 or the scripts on defending your commission. And typically, once you kind of learn a few scripts there on how to talk about that, it really kind of leaves them speechless, because basically what you're telling them is that when you sell their property, number one, the commission is not paid until the end, okay? Number two, if another agent is offering to do or list your home for less than what you are, a really good agent can negotiate 1 or 2% in their sleep, basically. So when offers come in, you're going to be the better agent. You're the one that's, number one, going to draw the best price. You're going to have the better marketing. You're going to be more experienced in negotiating the terms of these offers that come in, and you're going to get more for this property than an agent that possibly is only that wants to reduce their commission. Okay, so once you kind of bring that to light to them and get them to understand that, it really kind of leaves them. I mean, how can they argue with that, right? It's pretty convincing way to defend your commission. And again, go on the internet and look that up and use that. Okay. The other thing that's sort of a red flag to me when I'm working with people at first, thinking about maybe listing their home is they might be questioning what you do. Okay. Do you have an open house every Sunday? Do you put an ad in the paper? Do you do this? Do you have a dog and pony show in front of my house every Saturday at 3 o'clock with cake and cookies and balloons? Okay. Of course you don't do that. So one thing you want to make sure you're doing in your listing presentation is you have in writing exactly what you do. I call it a marketing and communication guarantee. So I'm going to tell these people in writing what I do. Newspaper, open house, internet, sending postcards to the neighborhood, whatever it's going to be. I'm going to talk about open houses. I might do 1 or 2 the first couple of weeks on the market, but after that, possibly, maybe, I'm not going to guarantee it. So there's certain things I guarantee, there's certain things I might do, and then it's in black and white. They're not going to come back on you and start complaining, okay? But again, a little bit of a red flag to me is when they kind of start demanding things right off the bat, or maybe comparing you to another agent they interviewed that said that they would have an open house every Sunday, or they would do this, or they would do that, okay? The last thing that's really important to me when I'm working with people, again, we're trying to get their property listed, and again, I'm doing 2 steps. First step, see the property, gather information, get the questionnaire filled out. Second step is come into the office to sign the paperwork, okay? If someone is willing to come into the office to sign paperwork with you, that is a real positive sign. These people are motivated, they're playing by your rules, they're taking your advice, they trust you that you know what you're doing. And so that's a real important thing to me. It's a little bit of a red flag when people resist that. They don't want to meet on your turf, or they just want to do things when it's convenient for them, or they're not really willing to go out of their way for you. Okay, so those are some red flags that I look at, and why I might not want to list someone's home. Okay, so review these things, look them over, think about them, try to implement them into your systems of how you do things, and you'll be more successful. The last one I didn't really elaborate too much on. I can do that real quickly before we go, is the market value. What is the market value of your property, again, on the internet, and dispels a lot of myths about what makes a property worth what it's worth to a buyer. Okay, sometimes a little bit of a red flag is, well, I put $20,000 into my property and I need to get $20,000 back on it when I sell it. And of course that isn't always the case. You're doing things to improve your property to make it more saleable. So what determines the price and what determines the value to a buyer? Again, really good thing to use there. Okay. Last thing, just a quick note on handling your listings, okay, in your deciding if you want to list your home or list with a potential seller, is, you know, how do you handle the pressure when they're questioning you, or they're challenging you, or they're being difficult, or, you know, they're not wanting to fill out forms, or the things we've talked about today. Is you sort of have to be able to kind of handle that pressure and be able to respond quickly to these concerns that they have. The quicker you can respond to them and give them an answer, the better, okay? So you have to be really good at handling pressure in this business. I always use sports as an example because I love sports, and I always can see a parallel between that and in life in a lot of ways. And when I was watching the NCAA men's basketball tournament here in March, a good example of pressure is the last 10 minutes of the game, the championship game between Gonzaga and North Carolina. I don't know if any of you saw it, but the players on both teams were extremely nervous. You could tell they were missing free throws left and right, okay? I would say probably that last 5 minutes of the game, probably half of the free throws that were shot were missed. The game could have easily been won by the team that handled the pressure. The easiest made the free throws, probably would have won by 15 points if so many free throws weren't missed. It's the same way in handling your business. You have to be able to think on your feet. You have to be able to handle pressure. You know, the difference between getting a listing and being able to work with people successfully is really just a fine edge there of being able to get it done, and failure can just be a real fine edge there. So work on these things, you'll do great. Again, keep up the good work, and we'll see you next time.